How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with another preseason FPL video. And today we're going to be taking a look at Tottenham Hotspurs, or Spurs for short, as what most of you know them by, and see what players we're interested in for FPL from their team, as well as ones that maybe need something to change or not too interesting at the moment FPL-wise. And lastly, what Spurs are going to be doing in the transfer market. They could have some big outs, but they also need some big ins as well in order for their team to progress. They've gotten close a couple of times for the league over the past several years. They've also been in and around it for several seasons, but with their main man Kane potentially on his way to bigger and better things, they might need to rebuild. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and turn those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. Also, drop us a follow over on Twitter so that you can see all the up-to-date things that we've been doing transfer-wise. I've been retweeting a bunch of stuff over there, as well as we have our Flames Recruits League in the Twitter bio, so make sure to check that out as well and join the Flames Recruits League so that you have a shot to become the Flame Leader or Flame Lord, whatever you want to call yourself. Also, give us a follow over on Twitch so that you can see when we go live for our preview and deadline streams, which will be starting a week today of the intro of this video. This is going to be going out on Monday, so this is pre-recorded the day before. So make sure to give us a follow over there so you can be prepped when we go live for those streams as well. So without further ado, let's talk about our partners for this season in Fantasy Football Scout. We have partnered up with Fantasy Football Scout for this coming Fantasy Premier League season, and they're giving you an exclusive offer. Use the link down in the description to get 20% off your Fantasy Football Scout membership. It gives you access to the exclusive members area, which has new tools such as the 3-player comparison tool, as well as some old favorites such as the Rate My Team tool, the season ticker, and my personal favorite, the fully customizable stats tables, which you can share among other Fantasy Football Scout members, powered by Opta Stats. Use the link down in the description below to get 20% off your membership today. Sign up now. Now with Spurs, they are mainly all about their attacking assets. Dele Alli, someone who's been impressing in preseason and did so last preseason as well, comes in at 6.5 million. Heung-min Son has had a price hike up to 10 million in the premium bracket now, and as well as Kane up 2 million more from his 10.5 million from last season, and is very, very expensive, tied for the most expensive player in the game with Mo Salah. Now, it's definitely for the reason, if you look at their stats overall, specifically Son and Kane, 9 chances created in the last 4 matches played in the Premier League, Kane with 6, Kane with 4 big chances, Son with 1, a total of 14 shots inside the box between them. Kane expected to have scored just over, or been involved in just over 2 goals, Son around the 1 mark as well. So again, these guys are going to be linking up with each other, assuming Kane stays there. Now, there is this looming possibility that Kane could be going to the likes of Man City. However, if they were to get Jack Grealish, Man City that is, I don't see any possibility as to how they could finance a move for Kane, as well as you're talking well over 200 million for both the players to join your club in Man City, for that matter. So I think the likelihood is that it seems like Jack Grealish is possibly the one that could be going to City, which would mean Kane would stay at Spurs, which would make Son's value a lot more appealing, and potentially a re-sparking of Dele Alli alongside Harry Kane as like a shadow striker to Kane's number 9. Now, their fixtures off the start. Man City at home obviously is never great, especially if Kane was on the opposite team. That wouldn't be ideal. Wolves away, Watford at home, Crystal Palace away are a few good fixtures. So I definitely like their attacking assets in that realm. If Dele Alli is, proving to be a shadow striker in the, lesser games, as it were, we will have to see kind of how that plays out. They do have a new manager as well, so we're trying to see how they're going to play. It seems, from what I can gather, in preseason, a 4-2-3-1 is what Nuno Espirito Santo is going for, who is their new manager. And he often adopted a 3-4-3 when he's at Wolves. Now, whether the change of philosophy means good things for Spurs, we will have to wait and see. But I think that Dele Alli playing in the number 10 role at 6.5 million could be appealing. Son out on the left is going to be a foregone conclusion, as well as Kane up front, assuming that they are fit and available. Now, the thing is with Kane is that there's a chance that he could potentially miss the first game week or two because of his involvement with England, and he needs a little bit of extra rest potentially because he did suffer an injury, mild injury before the Euros, and he had to kind of get himself back up to it. Didn't look 100% right in the Euros. He did score a few, but all things by and large, he wasn't at top peak Kane performance. So we'll have to see how that plays out. So maybe a hold off on the Spurs assets for at least the first couple of game weeks, and then maybe there's an early wild card. Maybe there's a transfer waiting to happen there for the Watford at home game, because Watford, just this is skipping ahead a little bit, as they are the next team on the team watch list. They are very good at home, very not so great away from home in terms of their chances of getting a draw or keeping a clean sheet. So I think Spurs are definitely looking quite good in that. If Kane comes back and he's fit and firing for probably the Wolves game maybe, and Son's still there, I think you could see good things from Spurs this season, and then maybe Kane will leave on a high note at the end of this season, going to City in the following transfer window when they have more funds available after a full season. But now, with that being said, Spurs attacking numbers look great, look fantastic, but not really sure about the defense. So let's take a look at some of their defensive assets, mainly their fullbacks, that could be of use in FPL this season. Now, for Spurs, they have a bit of an interesting conundrum at fullback. We have a bunch of different options, all priced around the same mark at 5 million for fullback options for Spurs, which is the lowest they've been for some time. And they, could potentially provide some value for us. It's just who's going to start? That's kind of the main problem that we're going to have here. Nuno Espirito Santo, the former manager of Wolves, now the manager of Tottenham Hotspurs, is a manager who likes his wingbacks. He played a 3-4-3 system, but is transitioning to a 4-2-3-1 with Spurs. So will he allow one of or both of his fullbacks to get higher up the pitch? Now we have three shown up on the screen here. Serge Aurier typically can play at right back, right wing back. Matt Doherty was traditionally right wing back under Nuno Espirito Santo. Sergio Reguilon is someone who can also play left fullback or left wing back. Also could probably be good enough to play, wide left in a 4-2-3-1 as well, given the rights to go forward and allow for more attacking output as a great deliverer of the ball. And then lastly, Ben Davies is another one who is much more defensively solid and will probably play back up to Reguilon. It's just interesting to see who's going to be the right back. Now, Serge Aurier, very fantastic attacking output. In the last 4 matches that he played, he did have one big chance created, which is of his 5 chances that were created, which is quite, perfectly serviceable. You want to see your fullbacks creating big chances over chances. Creating chances is good. Creating big chances is better. He did have 1 shot in the box. He was around half a goal or an assist involvement in that front. And then at left back, Reguilon in comparison didn't have as many chances created, just the 2, 1 shot, same inside the box. Like to get forward quite a bit, but again, different management, so we're going to have to see how they kind of function in this system. I did like Reguilon last season. He was touted to join Manchester United before Spurs swept in and got him, but I think Luke Shaw's, arrival onto the scene, as it were, and basically a new reinvigoration of himself, of showing of the young lad that came from Southampton and showed his prowess before his serious injury, has returned to form and then excelled, especially in the Euros and the latter half of last season. Now, Reguilon, though, is someone who likes to get forward. Like we mentioned, his delivery is quite good. And I think he will definitely keep Davies out of the team. So I think he's probably the most nailed-on fullback if you're going to go for one. I definitely like him a lot better in a wing-back system if they can go for that. Left fullback, he should be perfectly fine. Son likes to cut inside anyway, which allows for, Reguilon on the overlap, cross into Kane, goal. That's usually kind of how it can happen. Whereas on the right-hand side, not really too sure how that's going to potentially pan out. That kind of space on that right-hand side is still a bit kind of up in the air. Is Bergwijn going to play there? Is Lucas Moura going to play there? Will Dele Alli get shifted out to that side? We're still not totally sure. Eric Lamella's also left. We'll talk about that in the transfer section as well. So Are they going to want an overlapping fullback, or are they going to want an underlapping fullback? So Doherty likes to make more infield runs at times, whereas Serge Aurier also can do that quite well, but also likes to kind of burn in and around the outside. And if he is, on the opposite side of the pitch at right back, where the ball is on the left-hand side, he will go in towards the box. Doherty does that quite well as well. I think Doherty is just a bit, and I say a bit, it's not very much in this. Defensively more solid, I would say, typically in more of a back three system, but both Aurier and Doherty are very defensively liable. They're not the greatest, whereas the likes of Ben Davies, you know what you're going to get out of him. Reguilon is very good at tracking back, but Aurier and Doherty can find themselves getting caught up the pitch, which is maybe why you would potentially have, if you had a 4-2-3-1, you would have Højbjerg kind of babysitting that right-hand side and allow them to fly forward, which makes me think if we can figure out who the nailed down right back is, then we could potentially have a very good FPL asset for 5 million on our hands. Maybe another Sufal type of situation, as they are priced at similar price points here. So I think it's still a bit up in the air. We'll have to kind of wait for the first couple of game weeks to see how this pans out. And then maybe something can happen in game week 3 or 4, which will show, Nuno's true colors and how he's going to utilize his fullbacks on a game week to game week basis. Now, with that being said, let's take a look at some of Spurs' transfer activity in this summer's window. Now, Spurs haven't been as active as, if I was a Spurs fan, would have liked them to be in the transfer market in terms of bringing players in or potentially securing some of their, better assets. They have tied down Son, as an example, to a longer-term contract, but keeping Kane is probably the priority, and potentially filling some, certain positions in center back mainly to allow them to help progress the team on that front. They seem to be a bit slow on that side of things, but they do have some targets which are very clear to them. Let's start out with some of the ins. So we have Bryan Gil, who's come in replacement for Eric Lamela, and they've kind of done sort of a swap deal. Gil's transfer fee was £25 million, so it's around 25 million euros, sorry, £20 million approximately, and these are approximations based off transfer market, as you can see on the graphic as a note. So he's going to basically come in as a replacement for the likes of Lamela. Now, will he start on that right-hand side? We don't know. Steven Bergwijn is someone who can hold down that position. Lucas Moura, if you want more of an inverted right-sided attacker that come into that number 10 space. We'll have to see how that kind of transpires. Gil is very young. He's a little bit on the lighter weight side, used to the La Liga style of play. So we'll have to see how he kind of adjusts, and maybe he bulks out a little bit to help him, be a bit more Premier League accustomed, as it were. Christian Romero, someone who is being touted by a bunch of different clubs. United wasn't interested, but mainly the forerunners now are Spurs, and it's going to be around 55 million euros, approximately 47 million pounds, to bring him in. If I had to guess, he'd be around 5 million pounds if he were to come in. That's just an approximation. I should have probably put a question mark there, but regardless of that, I think that he could be a stalwart in their back four, maybe alongside the likes of Joe Rodon, who is probably going to take up more of a senior mantle, having only been there 1 year. So it's going to be interesting to see how that dynamic works out. Somebody coming from Serie A, a very defensive-oriented league, a little bit slower of a league, whereas Joe Rodon's played in the championship with Swansea, now coming to Spurs as well. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how two younger center backs cope in a team that has more senior heads up front, whereas Spurs, historically over the past several seasons have been more of the senior at the back, youthful and bright and attacking up front. Alderweireld, someone we have on the outs list alongside Vertonghen, who were two of their mainstays for several seasons on end, and now they're going with something a bit more youthful. They've both since which have now left the club, so it's going to be very, very interesting to see how Nuno kind of handles that situation. Vlahovic is someone that could come in and replace Vinicius, who is on loan from Benfica. He could come in as a big kind of stocky alternative center forward option up front. that deal could potentially happen, but I think Romero is probably the main priority at the moment. In terms of the outs, Alderweireld, we mentioned, has left around £11.1 million. And he was the second part of the the Toby-Wan Kenobi and the Jan Vertonghen Skywalker type memes and whatnot of that duo. They were so good for Belgium for many years, as well as for Spurs being on the same team. That chemistry is something you can't really buy that often, so it's probably going to be a big miss. He was getting injured more often than not, could only play one game a week realistically, and he has now left the club as well. I think he's gone to Al Duhail, I think it's how you pronounce it. I could be butchering that up, but it's in the Qatar Stars League, basically. Not really sure how to pronounce that, but yeah, he will be over there now, as well as Danny Rose, someone who again was part of that notorious back four, playing in at right back week in, week out, as well for Spurs when they had Alderweireld and Vertonghen in the team. He is left on a free to Watford, and he's currently priced in the game at 4.5 million. So if he gets significant minutes and is very attack minded and nailed on, Danny Rose could be someone who definitely has a pretty decent delivery. He is okay defensively and could be good for Watford, but we may talk about him a little bit more in the Watford video, which will be coming out after this one, as they're next on the list. And then lastly, we have Gareth Bale. Now, the reason I put him on here is because he was on loan with Spurs. It doesn't look likely that they're going to be bringing him back. And I think that he's just that dynamic player who provides quality and experience to allow them to get out of certain situations which they normally wouldn't be able to do. Now I think they're going in more of the let's change the philosophy of the club completely, or the style that they were playing, because they were under Jose Mourinho, and they've clearly shown that didn't work out. And they're going from more youthful back to the Spurs way of just exciting, attacking, scintillating style of football. So we'll see if Nuno can provide that, as he has been more of a pragmatic, defensive-minded manager when he was at Wolves. So with these potential signings of Gil and maybe Romero, maybe we'll start to see that. But Bale was definitely an experienced head that is definitely going to be missed. Is a several Champions League winner, scored some fantastic goals in finals as well. So we'll have to see how big of a miss that could potentially be, as he was a very, very good player, even in the Premier League when he only had limited minutes as well. So let me know what you think down in the comments below as to some of the transfers that you would like to see Spurs bring in this summer transfer window. And that is going to do it for our preseason Team Watch edition of Spurs. If you haven't done so already, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you are new or haven't done so already. It greatly helps out the channel, as well as turn those notification bells on so that you can get videos much like this one and many more throughout the season as soon as they are readily available. Drop us a follow over on Twitter so that you can see all the different FPL news and transfer news that we've been posting over there, as well as you can join our Flames Recruits League, which is also over there as well in the Twitter bio. And also give us a follow for Twitch as well, if you want to join us for our preview and deadline streams. We really enjoy those. We like the interactivity, so come on and join us over there. Those are starting a week today. And lastly, use that link in the description below. Fantasy Football Scout have a fantastic offer, 20% off if you use the link down in the description below to their exclusive members area, which gives you a whole wide range of different tools and gadgets and pieces of information that allow you to up your FPL game to the next level. Thank you all for watching, and until the next one, take care.